We've put the sophisticated art of assassination at your fingertips. You play as the world's most dangerous man, only known by his codename, Agent 47.
Find that girl.
He was made to do what he does, and he does it expertly. His kills can be intimate and painless, or they can be gruesome and violent.
Jason and Nick, I don't want to be the kind of motherfucker that plays like a game right before it's time to decide Game of the Year and then said that's my favorite game of the year. But I might just have to be that kind of motherfucker with this game. Because
I might have to be the motherfucker next to that motherfucker.
Because I got to tell you guys, I think this game is fucking fantastic. I loved Hitman Absolution.
Yes.
It's definitely a lot of fun. I mean, like, we'll have to obviously wait. I mean, I think if Far Cry 3 sucks, then I think this will be my game of the year.
Yeah.
I'll say that. I enjoyed it that much.
I don't want to say it's so good because of all the people I got to choke to death, but that would be a lie. That would be a terrible lie.
I just see your game of the year like checklist, and it's, you know, story is real small, and gameplay is real small, and graphics are real small, and choking a bitch is like 90% of that pie graph for what makes a good video game.
So yeah, when you're choking someone in Hitman Absolution, without your garrote, you get the chance to subdue them or kill them. Mm-hmm. And subdue them is basically just choking them out. Or you can snap their neck. I was like, subdue? I'm not putting this guy down for a nap. I mean business. I mean business, bitches.
A professional. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Hitman Absolution, if that's not already clear. The latest in the long-running Hitman franchise, which has been going since... Wow.
2000.
The year 2000. Yeah. So this is the fourth entry in the series after Blood Money. And
no, I think it's the fifth one, actually, because it's got Hitman, Codename 47,
mm-hmm.
then you got Silent Assassin, mm-hmm. Contracts, Blood Money, and this one. So, yeah, it's the fifth one.
Wow, they teach counting way better over there in Britain than they do in the United States. It's not good for public schools.
No, I got Wikipedia in front of me. That's why I sound so clever.
All right. Fifth game in the series, Nick. Jesus.
Yeah.
Like numbers and shit. But yeah, this is really a departure from what we've seen previously in the Hitman series, and I think it's going to be the sort of thing that's either going to make you go, yeah, this was really fun and cool, or if you're super attached to that old Hitman like gameplay, there are a lot of people right now out there who are really bummed out about this, but we're going to talk about the whole thing throughout the course of this review. So,
bummed out about it. That's a good way to put it.
I'm being nice. Nice.
That's a good way to put that's a good phrase to tag on to all the melodrama and hyperbole people have been vomiting up about this game.
I mean, I was going to say
I don't understand
setting their hair on fire and fucking farmyard animals, but that just seemed I was going to be nice.
That's what I do when I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I need kerosene and a sheep.
It's the sweet.
I don't get what exactly are they complaining about, because I'm a diehard fan of the Hitman games. I played every single one of them, and I thought this was really good. So, like, what are the main complaints that you've been hearing about yourself?
Well, I tell you what, we'll circle back around to that once we get to the point where we're talking about kind of the gameplay mechanics. But let's start by talking about the story, because unlike a lot of the previous Hitman games, the story to this game is much more front and center. And this is a story of Codename 47, and he is at the very beginning, and this is no surprise, it's the very first mission of the game, contracted to kill his old handler, Diana. From there, it becomes a crazy, weird, grindhouse film of a game where there's double-crossing and sleazy low-life characters and backstabbing and dusty rural towns and nuns in latex shooting at people and all kinds of fucking bizarro, crazy go-nut stuff. And
you know what? The beginning kind of reminds me of that film Mercury Rising. Because it's like this conspiracy thing going on, and then the rest has got like a Kill Bill feel to it. Like, it's kind of muddled, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Well, it eases you into it. It starts off like a typical video game. Okay, you know, you've got a somewhat interesting plot of your genetically engineered killer who is on a mission. Then he finds out he might not be on the right side of this, and he goes rogue. You know, that happens in the very beginning, so it's not a big spoiler. But you decide to go protect an asset that the agency really wants, this kid. And so it starts off pretty typically, and even the levels and everything, they're all pretty standard. And then it introduces a giant Mexican.
and huge, man.
Yeah.
It's like if Danny Trejo got hit by a gamma radiation bomb, pretty much. Like that.
Yes, yeah. It's like Hulk Trejo.
Yeah.
And it gets just a little bit weirder and a little dirtier, and then it introduces some like characters just offhanded, like, yeah, this guy's really into S&M. And this dirty sheriff and a dude with a cyborg hand, and then nuns in latex and a tiki bar. And by the time the game reaches its climax, you are completely immersed in this 42nd Street grindhouse exploitation film, just bloodbath, and it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it is got like a Rodriguez Tarantino feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the sort of thing that's going. I mean, I don't usually go out and look at like what other people are saying about this game, but I heard about this real big kind of negative undercurrent for this, and there are quite a few people out there, and I'm going to be the first to say it. The story is hyperbolic and ridiculous. But like, if you just lean into that shit, if you could be a fan of stuff like Tarantino or Rodriguez or those kind of over the top storytelling methods, I think it's a really fun story in that aspect. Is it serious? Fuck no.
It starts off that way, though. It starts off with lots of drama and, and just a needed brows and, I'm going to have to betray the agency and, this drama. But then it's like, I mean, at one point, well, that's spoiling it, but the wrestling scene.
Yeah, yes. Well,
holy shit.
As soon as, I mean, there's a big change in venue from the seedy streets of Chicago, to South Dakota at a certain point where you get into this dusty western. Like, to me, it felt more like I've never been to South Dakota, so I didn't know South Dakota was like Texas and shit. But like, these like dusty towns and weird caricatures and stuff like that. And I think that, like I said, I think it works in the course of this game because the main character in the Hitman games is a genetically engineered assassin who's been killing millions of people for the last 10 years and just walks between the raindrops with his fucking barcode on the back of his head, shooting people in the face with his still shiny silver guns. Like, I already think that that's a little ridiculous all on its own, so adding a little bit more ridiculous in there, not a big deal.
Yeah. That does make sense because what you're saying there, like, that since 47 doesn't really have that much of a character, it's kind of almost essential to make all the other characters in the game that much more like over the top, just to balance it out.
Yeah,
otherwise it'd just be very boring.
A good portion of the game, like you mentioned, is set in Hope, South Dakota, and whoever programmed this and did the writing for it and the design for that put more than a little bit of Blue Velvet in there, because it's just this, it's this little peachy keen kind of retro, stuck in a time bubble, of the early 60s, late 50s maybe. There's a kind of a retro vibe to that. But then there's some dark, weird shit going on beneath the surface. I really expected Frank Booth to show up with his feed of go juice in his tank, just huffing on it, going, Codename 47! Fuck that shit! Pabst Blue Ribbon!
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the best way to I was just thinking about it, like, this is a story that all of the people that I know from the website, like you, Jason, and like Brian Salisbury, like this is like a good B movie, like a good grindhouse B movie. And if you're looking for some kind of overly super serious, this is a gritty, realistic contract with blah blah blah, that ain't what you're getting here. So.
Yeah, and it's not quite, it doesn't go as ludicrous as, like, say, Black Dynamite or even Rodriguez's Planet Terror.
Yeah.
But it definitely dips from the same well as those. And I'm just really impressed because the way it does it, it just kind of eases you into it, And by the end, you're in this totally batshit faux reality.
Actually, come to think about it, all the Hitman games have, like, a slightly different feel to it. I mean, most notably, Hitman Contracts has is like a very dark game. There's one mission where you're like in a fetish club So it's like very gritty and dark with the music, especially. So I don't think it's that much surprise that they almost hit upon a different genre with each game that they've done.
Yeah. Well, and then it's another portion, another thing that bears mentioning that kind of adds to that overall atmosphere is they have these guys have definitely taken the J.J. Abrams school of lens flares at some point in their careers, because this game is like weirdly like color saturated, and there's all this lens flare-y stuff and kind of blurry, lighting effects and stuff going on. Like, it has a very distinctive look to it. And I say, if you haven't watched our happy hour for it, or just any YouTube video, you can take a look at it and kind of get a feeling. And I think that some people are going to like that. I thought it was great because I felt like the more the game went on, the more distinct that graphical style came out, and the more the whole thing that added to kind of getting you into, immersing you in this whole grindhouse thing that they have going on. Because the whole thing, like, it would have been a strange, honestly, if the game had looked super realistic, but it had this weird ass story. But the way that it looked a little bit more over the top and a little bit more fantastical, I felt just added to that, added to the whole presentation and getting you into that sort of thing.
This is all in Hope, South Dakota, right? This wasn't like, you didn't think that for when you were in Chicago and stuff.
No, the whole game. Like, I was when we were editing, I was editing the happy hour for this. I started looking at the screenshots and noticed that everything has like this weird kind of either pale blue or pale red kind of sheen to it. Like, the colors aren't as desaturated as they are in other games. It gives the whole game this kind of like weird, understated neon look to it almost. I don't know. I'm having a hard time describing it, but like, it doesn't look like other gritty, realistic games. Like, there's stuff going on with the characters and not the characters, but the lighting and the color that just really kind of set this apart from a lot of the other stuff that I've seen in this paint by numbers, beige and gray world that we tend to live in a lot of times.
It is a few degrees away from reality.
Yeah.
They just torqued it just a little bit.
Yeah. But then the biggest change, I think, in this, as opposed to some of the other Hitman games, is definitely in the mechanics. And I think this is going to be one of the things that's going to kind of make or break this for a lot of people. Now, Nick and I probably have quite a bit to say about the stealth mechanics, but before we do, Jason, would you like to tell us about the mechanics that are not stealth related in this game?
Okay, so Jeff and I have talked about this at length, and there are two ways to play this game. There's the right way and the wrong way. And the right way, of course, is sneaking around, figuring out the best way to do things, creative ways to kill people. And you have to be very careful. You change disguises, you try to stay hidden, you don't kill anyone in plain sight. You wait, you're patient, you scope out the area, and really, chances are you're not going to do it right the first try. Because the first try on a level, you really have to explore and figure out what's going on, and really where everyone's placed, where your targets are going to go and everything. And so it takes a lot of patience, a lot of not just stealth, but trickery, in the disguises and everything, and timing. It's like, okay, no one's looking, now I detonate this bomb, or drop the disco ball on someone's head, or nudge them into a pit, or whatever. There are so many creative ways to murder people. It's just, the mind boggles. I felt like a chocoholic in Willy Wonka, the Chocolate Factory, for the first time. I was just like, so many ways to kill people. Yeah. And but in order to do those, you have to be careful, you have to plan, you have to have a lot of patience, and I would walk in there and say, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to try this. Okay, let's go over there. I got to sneak over here, and I got spotted. All right, and everybody, okay, alarm, get the guards. I'm like, all right, motherfuckers, I'm sorry, but it's got to be this way. Everybody dies!
It's Scarface time, bitches!
Yeah. So I would play it, and I would try it a few times. I'm like, okay, you know what? Now everybody has to get killed. I just wanted to kill that one motherfucker, but now all you sons of bitches have to die.
That really enforces the zero witness policy, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
nobody saw anything.
Exactly. So it's just like, okay, I lost my patience, and and so Allison's watching me, and she's like, "You really suck at this." I'm like, "I'm getting to the next level, aren't I?"
Well, it's funny because after I got through playing through the game, really meticulously killing as few people as humanly possible, doing all this stuff, I started just going back through to kind of try the game out, mostly for revenge, mostly because I was like, motherfucker, you guys owe me after some of these goddamn levels. And just, wouldn't put on a disguise, wouldn't do anything, just pulled out 47 silver ballers and walked in there like I goddamn owned the place and started just shooting the place up like it was the 4th of July. And I gotta say that, okay, obviously that's not the way you're supposed to play this game, but if you want to play it like that, it's kind of fun as a third-person shooter. Like, you don't have any kind of your health regenerates, but it's so slow that might as well be not regenerating. So there's really kind of a tactical element that you've got to take if you want to just walk in and be some kind of unstoppable Terminator murder machine, in a hotel lobby that has 6 guards with submachine guns with your 2 pistols. So
if they didn't want me to kill all of those people, they shouldn't have given me all those bullets.
So then, on the other hand, there is the sneaky ways to do things. And Nick, I have a feeling that you probably engaged in this a lot more than the Scarface method, shall we say?
Yeah, definitely. I think about 75% of the game, I didn't use any guns at all. Most of the time, it was either my trusty knife, fiber wire, but I was really trying to keep an eye out for creative ways to kill people. Like, if I notice there's one level where there's a guy pitting near a fuse box, so when he went to get himself another drink, I would unplug the socket, put it in his little puddle, so when he came back to take a piss again, he would electrocute himself to death and going on fire. Or shoving someone into a pit full of pigs and be eaten alive.
Just as a straight up counterpoint, that guy that you electrocute when he pisses, you can also go and switch out the barbecue sauce he's using for lighter fluid, and then when he tries to put the barbecue sauce on the thing that he's grilling, a huge fireball engulfs his face. And
Awesome.
Oh my god, I've got to go back and play this, again. Like, the right way.
Like, technically, you could kill all your targets without ever pulling out, like, a knife or a gun. You just, just press random buttons when no one's looking, and then just sit back and watch.
Yeah, and that a lot of that is some of the gameplay changes that we have here. And the two, there's 3 big changes that I think people need to know about in this game. The first is detective vision. I mean, eagle vision. I mean,
it's called
dark vision.
Actually, it's instinct mode. That's it.
Instinct mode, yes.
Yeah.
Which basically lets you see through walls, and you can see everybody in real time. It actually slows things down a little bit, and you can use it for a couple of different things. The first thing that you can use it for, which I'm sure is what Jason mostly used it for, is you can actually, there's kind of a Red Dead Redemption Deadeye system where if you have this meter built up, you can hit slow-mo and target a bunch of people's heads, and then it goes into a little mini cinematic of boop, 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 and it is immensely satisfying when you do that. There's also, when you have this vision mode on, you can see little circles over the map that'll show you places of interest, which are generally the places where you can set up these different strange kills, or sometimes it'll be like a key card or something that you need, or a specific person. So they basically are just pointing you in the direction of where you're going. And then the third thing that you can do is you can hide your face, which sounds stupid, but in this game,
it's fucking stupid, man. That was the only thing that annoyed me.
It's a little dumb.
I don't know. All right, listen. I've had this thing with the 47 or with the Hitman franchise from the beginning, which is like, all right, I just killed that. I just took out this guy who is a janitor, and I put on his janitor suit. And you're walking around in a place where these guys are on high alert because somebody might be coming to kill somebody, and suddenly the guard sees this 12-foot tall janitor that weighs 300 pounds with a barcode on the back of his head, and a permanent "I'm gonna kill your ass" look on his face, and it's just like, who's that new guy? He looks pretty severe. So in this game, and they have a system where essentially if you are dressed in the same clothes as other people, like if you're dressed as a guard, all the other guards in the game are a little bit suspicious of you, and they want to come up and check you out and see what you're doing. But if you hold down this button, and this instinct meter, it doesn't recharge or anything. Like, you have to build it back up by doing sneaky things. You can essentially kind of put your hand over your face or tilt your head to one side or get on your radio, and you can use this to walk past those people.
Yeah, it's just like, dude, nothing to see here. Don't mind me.
Which, I don't know. I mean, as a gameplay element, it's going to be the sort of thing that, like I said, people are either going to like or they're not going to like, because in the previous games, there were a lot of times where if you got the right disguise, or any disguise for that matter, as long as you weren't doing anything completely strange and fucked up, you could pretty much just walk around the entire level unimpeded. Whereas here, you have to make a little bit more tactical decision about, if I'm dressed up like a janitor, then the guards don't care, but then I got to get around these janitors or whatever. And, when I first started, it seemed a little weird, but as I played, I thought it was a decent system. It kept you on your toes a little bit.
It is a decent system, but it is flawed, though. Can I mention, the issue people have been having with the disguise mechanic?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Okay. All right. The main reason people have an issue with this, and I do as well, is that there's one level where you're in Chicago, and you're being chased by the police. So if you dress up as a policeman, this is flawed. Every single cop, it suggests that every single cop in the entire city knows each other. And so that's why it's a little bit frustrating. I understand the janitor thing, because let's say it's 8 guys working in a hotel. They all know each other because they've been working there their entire lives. But don't tell me that every single Chicagoan copper knows each other.
No, just the towering. They're just able to recognize the towering maniac with murder eyes.
Okay. How about this? There was a level where there were guards wearing ski masks, and I dressed up as one of them, and I had the ski mask on, and they still recognize me through my fucking ski mask.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
I mean, at a certain point, it becomes real gamey, and there was probably a way that they could have gotten around to it, but I think the main reason that system was in place is because, unlike a lot of the previous Hitman games, this game has a real Splinter Cell sneakiness to it that a lot of the previous games did not have, where a lot of times, more than getting a person's clothes or hiding in plain sight, you're going to be behind cover, switching around, moving around people before their little bar fills up and they see you, or things like that. So that's going to be one of the things that I like those kind of games. I'm on record as Metal Gear, Splinter Cell, all kinds of crazy insano stealth guy, but I could definitely see where that's a departure from a lot of the previous Hitman games, because they didn't involve as much sneaking around behind somebody's back as this game does. So that's going to be the sort of thing where I feel like the stealth that they had in there was executed effectively, and the fact that they had that system with the costumes meant that you had to use that stealth system instead of just finding the right outfit and then walking through the entire level as an untouchable, essentially. So whether you like that or not is going to be kind of up to... I liked it. Nick, you went stealth, so what did you think about that?
It didn't really bother me that much. It was a little bit of a hindrance in my gameplay, because I know I've been going into a room, and I'm dressed up as the guard, and the guard's in the room, but I'm sneaking anyway, so it's kind of made it redundant. But overall, I still got the stealth I wanted, and I was able to be as tactful in the previous game. So yeah, I thought the stealth was quite decent. Little bit could have been tweaked, but otherwise it was very good.
Yeah. And just like in previous games, the levels are a little bit smaller here than they were in say, Blood Money. But I still think that, there's... By the end of the game, you start to see some of these ways to kill people repeated over and over again, like dropping this thing on people or lighting this gas when somebody is near it. Or, I saw a few of these. A poison comes in at least a couple dozen times. And there's some executions in the game that there really isn't a good way to do outside of just... There's at least 2 that I could think of where the only good way to kill them is just to walk up behind them and kill them. But there is still that thrill to me in Hitman of when you get one over on somebody and you're on the other side of the map minding your own business, and suddenly they're getting electrocuted through their pee, and you're just like, oh man, that sucks, dude, that is terrible.
And just hearing people's reactions, you're just hearing it's like, there's been some freaky accident that just happened, man. I don't know what the fuck.
Well, the thing is that when you start thinking about like the fact that you're working your way up the ladder towards these certain people, and all these people keep having these fucking ridiculous accidents, like somebody would have just said, okay, you know what? Let's not have a barbecue today. Maybe we'll just not do that. Maybe we'll all sit quietly in this room with guns pointed at the door. Just
good call, dude. Like 2 other guys just got, killed themselves by accident. Right. Like, who walked under a ladder today? Seriously, okay?
All right, so we got one more mode to cover real fast, and then I want to talk about a couple of the problems that I had with the game, and then we'll wrap it up. There's also in this game a contracts mode. Was that what it's called?
Yes.
That's just called Hitman Contracts, yeah.
Oh, you know what? Before I talk about that, just very briefly, the game also has a difficulty system that as you move up the line of the difficulty, it starts taking away a lot of the things that we were talking about, like the ability to use instinct or the ability to see through walls or things like that. So if you play the game on the highest difficulty level, it takes away the map, it takes away the point meter, it takes away everything except for a crosshair. And I tried playing that. Shit is hard.
Really?
It is really hard. Like, if somebody sees you doing something in the game, a lot of times when somebody sees you doing something sketchy, like a guard or something, there's this little arrow that will fill up that goes, and then when it gets to the top, it goes, bah, they're on to you. Here, when they see you, it's just like, they saw you, boop, they're on to you. So, if you're a hardcore...
what happens when they see you, though?
Murder everybody?
Murder everybody.
Well, the thing is that on that higher difficulty levels, guards take more punishment. You don't have that dead eye system, and there are more backup guys that come when things go pear-shaped. So, if you crank the difficulty all the way up to the highest in this game, it is hard. It is seriously difficult. So anyway, there's also this mode called Contracts that you can do that is kind of a weird... it's kind of strange. Did either of you guys play this at all?
No. I played it. Yeah, it's not really like multiplayer. The idea is that you can compete, you could play the game again, but then you assign different targets, and then you put up online. So you create your own mission, and then other people will check out your mission and see if they can kill your targets within a short time frame. And with the right equipment and the right kit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you can compete with your friends and stuff. So I didn't make a mission, though, but I played loads of people.
It's actually really interesting. The way that you make a mission is you just pick one of the levels. And I think I gotta say briefly about this game. This is a big game, man. Just the single player took me like 16 hours to complete.
Oh, definitely, yeah. They learned their lesson from Dog Days, I'll say that.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of breezing through it myself, but...
Well, that's what happens when you shoot everybody.
So in contracts mode, you're basically able to pick any of the levels throughout the entire game. And what you do is you build the level by doing what you are asking other people to do. So they put you in the level, and it's got all these characters and stuff in it. So you will find a person in the world, and then you hit a button, and it marks them as a target. And then however you killed them, like say you shoot them with a sniper rifle, then that will be the directive for the person who plays that mission, is kill this guy with the sniper rifle. And with the specific, usually outfit, if you're wearing a specific outfit, it'll say in this outfit. So it's interesting because they can't, like in this way, people can't make missions that you can't do because they have to do them in order to finish that mission out and publish it online. And it looks like, it looks like it could add a lot of, because those levels are already set up, they've already got a bunch of shit in them. It could definitely extend the life of the game. Like it's definitely the sort of thing when you get done, if you're way into this, you could go back and just make missions and put them up online and play the ones that come down. Now, whether it continues or not, who could say? But it was a good addition to the game.
Yeah, it was decent. I wasn't really too thrilled about it, to be honest. I was like, I just want to go back to the main campaign, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't imagine the shelf life of something like that being very long.
No.
Yeah. It depends. It's just a way, I think, for people, because every mission has a series of objectives that once you complete all of them, you kind of get the highest score for the mission. And I guess that once you get done with that, like if you're way into this game and you're playing it on super professional, like you could say, I want to make the hardest hit possible on this level and then see if any of my friends can do it. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's better than like. Oh Jesus! They could have put in some kind of terrible multiplayer team deathmatch bullshit, or
Yeah.
This is better than
capture
that.
the flag.
Right. So this is, I mean, this is better than that. Of course, now that I think about it, the Assassin's Creed multiplayer might have been really interesting to see done in a Hitman way, but oh well, that's pie in the sky. So before we get to ratings, I want to talk real briefly about some of the issues that I had with this game. Specifically, the checkpoint system in this game is fucked up.
Oh god, isn't it? Like, is it me, or like, do the enemies you just killed spawn back? Like, if you reload to that previous checkpoint.
Yeah, what happens is there's scattered throughout the missions, there are a series of checkpoints that you could choose to activate whenever you want to. So say you have 3 targets and you kill one and then you hit that checkpoint. When you reload that checkpoint, everything goes back to the way that it was when you started the level. So if guys started over here and they path into this building and then they path into this building and they path into this building, when you restart and then you checkpoint, when you restart your checkpoint, they've gone all the way back to the beginning. And it's ridiculous in some cases because there was one level where there were 2 guys talking to each other and I killed one of them. When I restarted the level, the other guy was just standing there and then just turned around and walked away, and it was like, I mean, it was some Groundhog Day shit going on in Hitman at this point. So I like, and that really a lot of times made it feel like you weren't making a lot of forward progress. Like if you couldn't do the whole level kind of in one go, that you would end up waiting for the level to play out to the point where you were when you hit that checkpoint. And that's a real shame because that's just straight up fucking broken, and that's not how checkpoints work.
Yeah, well, a lot of it, I imagine it was kind of difficult because a lot of the levels are kind of free-form. They're not terribly linear.
Yeah.
So sometimes you would find yourself, like, stumbling across a checkpoint right when, and I'm just talking about the placement specifically, but you would find yourself stumbling across a checkpoint, like, right when you had begun the level, because you went left instead of right, or something like that. So I can understand how that would be difficult to predict, but what you guys are talking about, yeah, that was definitely a flaw that I encountered more than once.
I mean, Hitman's always had a issue with, like, its save points and stuff. I remember the very first Hitman had no fucking save points at all, and the levels were huge, so if you fucked up, you'd have to start the entire level all over again. But I don't understand, that Blood Money, you were able to save, but, like, maybe about 5 times, but you were still able to manually save whenever you wanted to. So I don't know why they just didn't incorporate that into this game.
Yeah. That would have been, I mean, that in and of itself, it just, whenever a game does something that seems to wipe out the progress that you've made up to a certain point, that always gets under my skin, especially in a game like this where you can spend like 5 minutes listening to 2 guys have a conversation before they turn around and walk in different directions, and then you accidentally get seen and you've got to reload your checkpoint, and then you've got to listen to them have that same goddamn conversation again. It can become incredibly irritating, and it's just one of the things that, I mean, I honestly hope they could patch it, but I don't think they will. So
there was a moment when in the game where I was dressed up as like a samurai warrior pretending to be a statue, and I was just waiting for my target to get to me. And it took her like fucking 5 minutes, but I was just kind of like, just wait until she gets in front of me so I can cut her head off. But like, that would have been a perfect time to put manual saves, because then I wouldn't have to wait if I failed, which I did.
Yeah, and that would be perfect. And even in Blood Money, they had a system where you had a certain number of saves depending on how high the difficulty was. That would have been perfect here. Let you freeform save anywhere and just give you, like, 4 saves if you're on medium and 2 if you're on hard and none if you're on veteran, and just do it that way. That would have been perfect. So other than that, I think the other thing I want to mention is just the fact that this game has a very strange voice cast, and I feel like it needs to be called out briefly for it. Like, it felt like they were casting a total B movie when they put in Keith Carradine and Powers Booth and fucking Tracy Lords.
Yeah. Don't forget Uncle Rico. When I realized who that was, I was like, oh, of course, John Grease. That's Uncle Rico as the perverted sheriff.
Your mom is a hitman.
Yeah. One thing I didn't really appreciate was the graphics looked all blocky and gross in the cutscenes.
In the background, especially, like some landscape shots look fucking terrible.
It was
like
muddy and awful.
Yeah, it was super compressed, even on the PlayStation 3. Like, it seemed like they were... It seemed like that shit was coded for, you know, a WMV, a streaming ASF file circa, you know, 2003 or something like that.
That said, though, it's a shame because the guys who animated the characters really synced up with some of the tics that the actors brought to the dialogue, particularly with John Grease's sheriff. He was odd and kind of quirky and muttered a lot, you know, and the big bad guy, Mr. Dexter.
Yes.
He had a lot of weird little facial expressions and everything that they kind of interpreted from the line delivery of the voice actor. And they did that really well, so it's a shame you couldn't see it as well, and then it was kind of lost on this muddy graphics in the cutscene.
Yeah, I saw they did do some motion capture, I think, because I saw the making of it. But, like, yeah, it could have been a lot better than it was.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, guys, what are we going to give this game? Let's start with you, Jason.
In spite of some of the problems, I really liked the balance of solving puzzles and action, and I like the possibility of saying, okay, well, I can't solve your puzzle, so I'm going to kill your puzzle. I really liked that level of flexibility, and there was just so much variety in any given level, and it was fun, it was dark and weird and funny at times. I give it a high full price.
Okay. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I thought it had some of the best crowd mechanics I've ever seen in a game. And the creative ways in which you can kill people just makes me want to play it all over again, just so I can try something new. To be honest, I don't really know what everybody's been complaining about. I'm quite curious to, you know, find out in the comment section. But yeah, I'd also have to give it an enthusiastic full price.
Okay. And I am right there with you guys. I think that if it hadn't been for some of the checkpointing stuff and some of there were a few levels that felt a little superfluous that I feel like they could have done without. You know, that
a couple of technical hiccups.
Yeah. There were a few minor issues. But all in all,
you talk about the level. You talk about the level where you have to go in and just buy a suit and then leave. Like, what was the fucking point in that?
There's several other suits downstairs that you use to unlock later on. Anyway.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah. Okay. I just saw I have to go there just to get a suit and then leave. All right, fair dues.
Anyway, I thought that this game was a lot of fun, and it really also kind of put in perspective the fact that I've been trying to have a lot of fun with a lot of games this year. This game, I just started playing it, and I was like, hell yes, I love it. So I can't give it a better than Sex, but I am going to give it a very high full price. But having said all those nice and lovely and wonderful things about this, I'm just going to say this once again. I'm going to say it over and over until somebody goddamn listens to me. IO, Hitman's cool and everything, but now that you've made a new Hitman game, where the hell is Freedom Fighters 2, goddammit? I've been waiting for 9 years for Freedom Fighters 2. It's time.
Are you a silent assassin? Or do you want to kill everyone in your way? Both require exceptional skill to master. Think of them as tools, and command 47's abilities with creativity. Adapt as the world reacts. Use your instinct. Experiment. Switch tactics. Improvisation is your deadliest weapon. Use it, and you'll never fail.